McDaniel can't move on it. Now he does. The shot, passing down. Rebound, score!
Great week, or had a great week. For us, it's a Friday night for us. So
well, it's Labor Day weekend, so
yeah, it's gonna be a great weekend for most of us, probably, or hopefully it is.
And fantasy football drafts everywhere. But we are us with hockey. Well, we do fantasy football, and we're in the midst of fantasy baseball, which, like, man, getting Kyle Schwarber is one of the roughest things I've ever had to go through as a fantasy player.
Yeah,
so for people that don't know,
I'm struggling in my matchup right now. Like, I'm having the same issue.
We're both in the fantasy baseball playoffs, and the guy I'm facing has Kyle Schwarber, who's an outfielder for the Phillies. He hit 4 homers in one game. For the hockey equivalent, for people who don't know what that is, that would be like if someone scored 6 goals in a hockey game.
Yeah, basically like a double hat trick. Yeah, I was gonna say you're still winning your matchup though. Like, I'm losing mine. Like, I'm losing 5-13.
But
I'm getting my ass. I'm getting my ass kicked.
It's one of those playoff weeks in general. It's like you just kind of hope that everyone just plays to their potential and the best team wins, versus like having one of those outlier moments happen to you where you just shake your head. But yeah, no. So fantasy baseball playoffs are happening. Fantasy football drafts are just beginning. So hopefully you're doing your research there. I'm assuming everyone either has a draft sometime over the weekend or sometime leading up to Thursday. And then for us here at Tone the Crease, we never rest fantasy-wise because we're still doing our fantasy hockey preview. And we've done the defensemen, we've done the left wings, we've done the goalies, we've done the defensemen.
You forgot the goalies, I was going to say. So we're on to the right. I think we're on to the right wings now. Yeah.
Exactly. We're going to save the centers for the end just because that one's going to be really deep. This time we did the right wings. Now, the one thing I'll say about the outlook for the right wings in general, it is a lot deeper than left wing. So there were a couple guys we just had to omit because we tried to focus a lot on guys who were either on power play 1 or who had a shot to be power play 1. Right. And because there were some guys cut off, and you'll notice how deep this group is. It's a lot deeper than left wing. So I think that's just something you should bear in mind when you're going into your fantasy hockey draft. Just the idea of, if you have a guy at left wing that you rank similarly to guys at center or right, it might be better to go with the left wing guy.
Yeah, just take the left wing guy. Also, I think the other thing you'll notice too when we do our tier list is maybe this might be, it's not a spoiler necessarily, but we have a tier called roster filler, and that's not even meant to be disrespectful towards the right wingers. It's just because there's so many good right wingers that the guys that are put in roster filler are still good players to probably have on your roster. It's just, there's just that many more guys that are better than whoever's in that tier. Right. So whereas the roster filler one for the left wing actually means like, sorry, you're probably not going to be on a team.
Yeah.
Like, at least on anyone's fantasy roster.
The other thing too is honestly right wing. The thing I love about it, there's a mix of everything. There's a mix of old vets that are locking down the position. There's a mix of just solid players. There's young guys with a ton of upside who could break in. There's guys who maybe don't have the sample size but have the prospect pedigree. There's guys you can get value on. There's guys you can gamble on. And honestly, if there's just guys you want to take where you're like, hey, maybe they're not sexy, but I know what the floor is, you can do that too. Like, there's so much to pick from compared to left wing that it was actually interesting when I started looking through it and grouping it, just how many guys there were and how overall deep the position is compared to left wing. I'd even argue definitely compared to center, because when we do center, you're going to see how deep that is.
Yeah. Like I was going to say, the left wings, I don't want to say we were struggling to put guys in tiers at certain points, but it's like everyone after like the solid tier was just, there's like a huge chunk of guys after that solid tier that we had to fit in like the bottom tiers, right? Whereas you'll kind of notice when we do our tier list, I don't want to say the top half is more heavy, but like in terms of like, I guess the top like first couple tiers, it is heavier with guys compared to left wing. Like left wing had a
best example where, again, and I apologize, I did misspeak earlier, where I think center is going to be the deepest, but
yeah,
right wing, I have five if Matthew Tkachuk was healthy, 5 guys I would take in the first round probably, and we had 1 for left wing, right? And we had 2 for defenseman, we'd say, and then maybe 1 for goalie, right? So outside of center, this is probably the deepest position if you're looking at like first round value. So again, just when you're doing your drafts, just bear that in mind that if you have guys comparable at different positions, it might be better to wait on right wing a little bit, unless it's a knockout guy. And we'll kind of get to that with the first guy here. So let's just start the tier list now. Let's just get this ramped up. You can tell by the way we organize this tier list right away. You can tell who the number one guy is. It's so apparent. Yeah, Nikita Kucherov. So. I mean, I'll say this with Kuch. There's an argument. Honestly, here's the thing. You could take him number one overall, and there's an argument for it. Like, would you disagree?
I mean, I wouldn't, because like I know I was looking at some statistics recently with so most people would probably take like a McDavid number one, for example. Like again, if you're in a redraft league, for example, we're in a keeper league, so that's not theoretically possible. But I think something about McDavid's like, and nobody's getting Kucherov either. But I think I was looking at some of the statistics, and I think was it the last 5 years where McDavid's had like a 1.75 like points per game essentially over the last 5 years, and like. If we're looking at it, probably the next closest guy is probably theoretically Kucherov, right? His last 3 years, 1.57 points per game. Like, I mean, there's not much to say about this guy, right? I don't have to. His stats do the talking essentially.
Well, he's led the league in points the last 2 years. Outside of the injury year after the Cup, for the most part, I'd argue he's been pretty durable. I would say, but like, if you look at like the last couple years, well, actually, I guess. 20, 21, 22 injury-wise wasn't great either. But overall, you look at, like, again, third in points 3 years ago, first in points last year, where I personally have always said he should have won MVP over McKinnon. And then last year, led the league in points again. He's a consistent source of, like, goals and assists. Because you think he's more of an assist guy, because if you watch him play, the way he facilitates everybody is ridiculous on Tampa. But he had 44 goals 2 years ago. He had 37 last year. He shoots a lot. He gets you a lot. He gets you everything, basically. He gets you points, assists, goals, power play points. He is the engine to Tampa, so there's no worry about him losing his position at any point. I mean, he is honestly like 32 isn't super old either compared to what we've been comparing. He's again, I've said the top tier of guys is McKinnon, McDavid, Kucherov, and Draisaitl. If you're just looking at like the position, if you're thinking to yourself, well, I can get better centers later, but maybe right wing, I just want to get the best guy and call it a day. There is an argument you can take Kucherov number one, and I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Well, I think it's back to the point you mentioned where left wing is really weak, right wing is like still got some depth, and then center has the most depth, right? Yeah. Like I would even argue you could even go Kucherov one, and then if you're in the bottom half of like, I guess I'm assuming if you're snaking, you're probably going to be the bottom pick of round two. It might be a good argument to even just to take, for example, the best or the second best left wing available and just be like, cool, like excuse me, you have your wings loaded up, and then again, center's so deep that the first guy you draft at center, like your first center you draft is still going to be really, really good. Whereas if you tried to draft a winger in that third round, fourth round range, I'm not going to lie, the options are going to start to dip.
Yeah. No, it's good.
Also, back to the point about Kucherov too. Sorry, just to interrupt, but back to the point about Kucherov, the durability. I mean, if you look at the wingers, all the right wingers on our list, the most amount of games played, I think, is 246. He's played 241, so he's 5 games off. I'd say it's pretty durable at that point. So I wouldn't even have complaints about that either. And then I think you mentioned goals. He does score a ton of goals. I think he ranks out of all the wingers we have on this tier list. He ranks, I think, 6th. So with 111. So in the last 3 years.
He's just a consistent point per game guy. He's always near 0.5 goals per game, which is crazy because it's not something you'd ever think about with him. Like even the year he played 47 games, he was at almost a 1.5 point per game pace before he got hurt. Right? Like it's just there's just no one. Honestly, it's crazy because with the guy we have number 2, like he's really good too, but it's just you can't compare. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, there is a bit of a gap between 1 and 2.
Yeah,
and it's no disrespect to number 2. It's not even disrespect to number. It's not even a disrespect to number 2. It's just the guy number 1, Kucherov's just that.
Kucherov's arguably been the best player in hockey the last 2 years, which is crazy to say when you consider McDavid, but it's true.
Well, McDavid and Draisaitl, right? Like you have the 2 Edmonton guys, so it's like, and then like even McKinnon, like. It's funny because we talked about how deep center was. The 3 guys I just listed were all basically centers, right? So.
All right, next guy here. It's just his own tier again. He's just not Nikita Kucherov. That's it. That's the only reason he's not the number one guy. David Pastrnak is ridiculous. Okay, let's just put it this way: the argument with taking Pastrnak the first round is he's a consistent source of goals. Now he had that one spike on 61 that year. You know, Boston was killing it, but he'll get you above 45, probably close to 50, and it's regardless of the supporting cast. I would argue, sorry, above 40, probably could be close to 50, and it's regardless of the supporting cast. The supporting cast was the worst it's ever been since he's been in Boston last year. Still over half a goal per game, still 1.29 points per game, still 3.89 shots per game. His shots actually went down below 4, but still providing a ton of shot volume. You know, again, real upside in goal production, and there is upside to this. If his teammates ever get better, there's potential.
Has to go.
Yeah,
his production has to go up if his teammates get better, right? For reference, his line mates last year were some combination of Zaka, Lindholm, and Geeky. I think it was like that kind of mix, and he still finished with
including when McAvoy was hurt and they had to like put Mason Lohrei on power play 1, right?
Yeah, so he had 106 points in 82 games, and I'm actually looking at his last 5 games of the year. These games weren't relevant to fantasy, obviously, because I think most fantasy seasons are over by that time. But in that 5-game stretch to the end of the season, he had 2 points against Jersey, 2 points against Pittsburgh, 2 against Chicago, 3 against New Jersey, 3 against Buffalo. Like, even without McAvoy and like all the cast, he still produces, right? And I think it's kind of crazy. I mean, the plus minus you don't really care about if you're in a league that doesn't have plus minus, but the production is just there. I mean, in terms of goals, he's like, I hate this. Like, it's funny because he is like the runaway favorite for goals in terms of right wingers, right? Like, he has 22 more than the next guy who's in the next tier that we'll talk about. 22 more than the next guy.
Like aside from Cooch, yeah.
Yeah, well, even Cooch, like he has more. Like he's had 40 more goals than Cooch the last 3 years.
Yeah,
it's pretty sizable. Like the goals, I would say the goals are a premium. That's the only argument I would say. Like Pastrnak over Kucherov. Kucherov like overtakes him in everything else, and I think the shots too, right? Like
the only reason he's below Kucherov is just Kucherov has the assist upside. Like Pasternak's season total for assists is season high in assists is 63. Kucherov had like 100, I think, 2 years ago, just as an example, right? Like Kucherov's always he'll probably have less goals, like maybe a couple less, 5 or 6 less, but he'll get probably 20 more assists. So that's the reason Kucherov
that makes
higher.
That makes up for it essentially, yeah.
But Pasternak's still really good, and again, he's a guy I would definitely take in the first round, like no question.
Yeah, the shot volume too. I think I mentioned 246 more shots than the next guy on this list. Like know he's gonna shoot, and like one of the things that you need with your forwards is you need them to shoot a ton. Like I hate taking guys that don't shoot or don't get at least 2 shots.
Because you're relying on outlier shooting seasons for them to make up. Like a lot of times you'll notice the guys that regress the most are guys who don't shoot a lot but have scored a lot of goals that year. I think the exception might be Gabe Vilardi, but like for the most part, guys who experience like a spike in goals with low shots tend to regress to the mean the year after. It's normal too, because you're not like Ovechkin. Ovechkin's a good example, although like Ovechkin and Pastrnak are good examples. Like Pasternak's a career 13.9%, but they shoot a lot to mitigate. I think Ovechkin's even actually lower, but they both shoot a lot. So it mitigates any fluctuations in and if they're ever shooting on a hot streak, that's just going to go up, right? So,
yeah, I think you hit it pretty much on the nail of that one.
All right, the next tier here, the other elites. So this is kind of a pick your bag, what you want. So Mitch Marner, formerly of the Leafs, now on Vegas.
I couldn't find it. So he hasn't taken, for those who are wondering, they don't have the Vegas photo for him yet, so I had to kind of pick the Leafs one.
Also, he's, low-key misses his boy, right? So Mitch Marner, Mikko Rantanen, and Matthew Tkachuk. We'll talk about Tkachuk at the end, because, again, but we have to have him here for now. So this just depends what you want, right? Mitch Marner, he's going to get you 100 points through, like, it's probably going to be, if you look at his career, it's going to be some combination of around 20-something goals, 80-plus assists is probably how he'll get you there. And I'll say this about Marner, he's just consistent at what he does. Like, yes, he had a couple of years of 30, 35, and 30 goals. I do think he's more of a 25, 28 guy, though. And also, last year was one of his lowest shots on goal seasons. I think it's his lowest shots on goal average last year. And I'm curious to see what happens when he goes to Vegas. But overall, you're going to get around 20 goals. You're going to get around 80 assists. I'm not worried about the supporting cast, changing teams because he's gonna have guys like Dorofeev who just want to shoot all the time, Eichel who shoots a lot as well. He's gonna be on power play 1. He's gonna be on a good team anyway, so I'm not worried about that. He's just a safe floor right winger. Like you're gonna get 100 points. You can take him in the first round. I'm not worried about anything. I don't honestly. He's probably the most boring guy to talk about just because there's not much to discuss.
It's funny because there's not a lot to talk about in fantasy wise, but it's always more the. I don't know if you saw the interview that happened that recently happened between that he discussed. I don't know if you heard where he essentially discussed that he had to keep security at his home for 2 weeks, and I think apparently somebody leaked his address online. I'm not gonna lie, like maybe just a slight diversion. It's kind of I don't know. I do find it cringe that people kind of do that kind of crap. Like
I think the problem is it's social media in general because now you're just closer, for better or worse, you're closer to athletes, closer to anybody than you are now. Like I don't know if you remember last year when the Bills played the Ravens, when Mark Andrews dropped those passes, he had death threats like on social media. People like apparently that were looking for his address to try to find him, and it's one of those things where because we feel closer than ever to people because of social media. It's unfortunately the nature of it. I just try to rationalize it to an extent that it's a very small percentage of the fan base in general. And if you think about it, like small percentages of anything will always act like outliers. And it sucks, but it's just the reality, I think, of what it is.
Also, I was going to say too, like even if it's a small percentage, if you have a large group and a small percentage of that is still like a decent chunk of people, like it is what
exactly,
it is, right?
But it's something you can't avoid now, and so unfortunately, like people just can DM you right away. It was back in the day, you had to have like phone numbers and like emails and stuff like that. Whereas now, people can DM you they can hit you up on X Twitter, they can hit you up on Blue Sky, they can hit you up on Instagram.
I think the other problem too is people are just so empowered because they feel like they can just hide. I think being able to hide.
Yeah, and the anonymity part of it too, right?
Like, just hiding behind a computer screen and just being able to say some pretty crappy things to people is kind of fucked up at this point. So
and like some of the people they say it to, like I see people trash talk. I'm not the biggest John Jones fan, but it's crazy. People like DM John Jones and talk shit. I'm like, bro, that is crazy.
Look, I'm gonna say this. I'm not I don't like John Jones as a person. Like again, UFC wise, love watching him fight.
I just always think to myself, my personal take with anything social media wise is, would I say this to this person's face? And if the answer is no,
exactly.
I'm not
I think that's the point. It's like, I don't support John Jones, but I wouldn't mind if he beat the shit out of the people that said that to him. Because like low key, I'd be like, yo, if you're real about it, say it to his fucking face. Don't hide behind a computer screen. Don't tweet it out. Don't fucking DM him and get him all these threats. If you're like, look, if you're gonna talk trash to him, you better be willing to put the fists up and back it up. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, 100%. All right, next one here, Mikko Rantanen. So Mikko's interesting because I'd have him higher if I didn't have some concerns. And I say this as a Stars fan, right? So there are a couple things. One, he's just going to play less minutes than he did in Colorado. So Jared Bednar notoriously plays his top line a ton of minutes. If you look at his minutes in Colorado, he was at his peak like 22 minutes, and then like the 2 years before he got traded were like 22 minutes at a time, right?
Yeah, I think part of that was because Colorado had a lack of depth, right? I think we talked about this a lot in our other pods, but they just had a lack of depth. So you're forced to play your best guys way more, way more than you had to, right? And I think in Dallas it's different because Dallas, despite losing, losing Granlund and a bunch of other guys, there's still a ton of depth like through all their forwards, right? Like their first line's Robertson, Hintz, probably Rantanen. Duchesne, Johnston, and Sagan is still a really good second line, and then Ben Steele and Maverick Bourque feels like an extremely overqualified third line, right? So you can afford to just split the minutes a bit more when you have that caliber of forward depth, which kind of sucks for Rantanen, right?
And if you look at his average time on ice last year, it was 19 minutes with Dallas, 19 with Carolina. So there's going to be a minutes drop no matter what. There were some concerns with again the 88 points in 82 games, but it's not. You could argue that, part of it was Carolina, but you could also argue that, like, even in Dallas winning the 18 points in 20 games, it was 5 goals, 13 assists. And part of you, again, could argue that maybe that's some adaptation. But there are some concerns about, even in those 20 games in Dallas, the 1.85 shots on goal was a little bit discerning. Granted, in the playoffs, he kicked it up a notch completely, right? But, again, there are some concerns as to how they adapt. There's also a new coach coming in with Glenn Glutzen. How's that going to look like? We don't know. The floor here is just pretty safe, and the team is still really good. That I don't mind having him here, but I just want to see what it looks like with the new surroundings for a full season before I move him one way or another. And he's earned, with the track record, he's earned it too.
Well, I was gonna say, like, if his down year is 88 points in 82 games, like, I feel like that. I mean, that perfectly justifies why he's here, right? Like, even at his, like, I don't want to say it's not even his worst, but even when things didn't go right, he moved around a bunch and he didn't have his best year. Like, he was still more than a point per game player, right? And I think back to your point about who you're drafting kind of from this tier, Marner's just going to get you a ton of assists. I think Rantanen has a little bit more goal upside. Like, I would say, out of all the right wings in the last 3 years, he ranks second in goals with 129. So he'll get you the goals. Yeah. So there is a gap between him and Pasternak, but again, 129, like, good enough for me, right? So,
and the other thing, so I think, and then the last guy here, Matt Tkachuk, is just if you want a well-rounded guy. Now, the problem with Tkachuk is you're not taking him. Normally, I think you could take him in the first round because you're going to get around a point per game. You're going to get a ton of shots. You're going to get a ton of hits. And that multi-cat value is so good. But right now, he's downgraded because I don't think he'll be back till January. So if he just wasn't hurt, I'd have him here. Where you draft him just depends on your risk palette and what you're looking at. Like, if you're looking at taking kind of a... If you think you can take the hit for the beginning months and just want to have him for the stretch run, I think that's perfectly fine. If you want to avoid it, if you don't want that risk palette, depends on your IR league, like how many IR spots your league has and stuff like that. I don't really want to quantify that. I'm just talking about the talent of the person. I think he's a first round talent just based on his fantasy stats alone and the supporting cast and his deployment. But again, where you take him this year can vary.
Well, I was gonna argue, like, if he had, like, because his games played compared to a lot of the other guys on this list, like, he's played 30 less than some of the guys that are like above him in this tier. Like, I'd honestly argue that if he was healthy for those games, he would be a top 5 like scoring right wing basically in the last 3 years. He also has the hits too, which I think, again, it's really hard to find a guy that has, like, the point per game and the hits, right? Like,
especially in right wing, you're gonna notice most of these guys aren't hitters. He's like the one.
Or if they are the hitters, their production, like, for example, like, I'll reference one, like Tom Wilson, for example, hits a ton, but you're not going to get as much production out of him, right? Like, you have to make a concession with those guys that do hit a lot. Like with Tkachuk, you're not making a damn concession at all. Like, you get everything.
You're gonna get 1.4, 1.5 hits.
Everything. I'd say everything but the goals. I think, like, you're still gonna get a decent chunk of goals. But
you're getting around 20. You're getting at least 20 something.
Close to 30, 28, close to 30 kind of range. So that's fine.
Like last year, he was 57 points, 52 games, 22 goals. Like, his pace was, I believe, his per game pace was like 0.4 for goals. So, like, again, to me, he's when he's a first round pick when healthy. It's just he's not healthy. Like, I probably, if you ask me gun to my head, where would I take him tier wise? I'd probably put him in the solid. I'd probably put him in the solid tier because he's, like, if you're accounting for the lack of games he'll play, like, I wouldn't take, like, I'd take all the insane upside guys before him, but in the solid tier, he'd probably be like the top of that list for me.
Yeah. So if we're talking talent alone, he's here. If you're talking, like, based on the circumstances we do currently know of, he's probably closer to here. So, but we'll keep him up here because, again, yeah.
And he's like the type of guy, granted, we have a keeper league, so he's going to be kept by one of our, like, but, like, I would take the swing personally, like, get the downgraded value and hope your roster is good enough. And if you have, especially if you have an IR spot, I would take the swing and just, like, be able, because it's almost like a the Arsene Wenger mid-season acquisition when the guy comes back from injury, right? So,
it's kind of, well, we joke in this, I guess in the sports world we joke, it's like the in-house trade deadline where you made a move. It's like the in-house move, right? The in-house like trade, essentially, that you got.
Or
you
a guy comes back for the stretch run, right? That's basically what it is. All right, moving on to the next tier. So the reason we kind of grouped, these are the last, like, outside of Tkachuk, although he hasn't hit 100 points before, but Tkachuk more for the well-rounded part. All these other guys have 100 point potential to me, or have hit 100 points, and have the ability to do so. The next tiers after this are the guys who are still really good. Like, this tier is just, they're good players, but I don't think they have the same 100 point upside that the other guys did, or they don't have the same coverage that Tkachuk does, basically.
Yeah. So you want me to list out
All
the
right,
guys or?
So we can start. Yeah, first guy in the series is teammate Sam Reinhart. Then we have Tage against the Machine, Tage Thompson. Machine seems to be Buffalo at this point. Adrian Kempe, probably like every hockey analyst most underrated player in the league. Willie Slicks, William Nylander.
I don't think this picture does his hair justice, but okay. Sorry,
Yeah,
just because you mentioned the
tough.
slicks part.
Tough.
Just because you mentioned the slicks part, but yeah.
Yes. And then Martin Necas and Travis Konechny.
And I'm so used to I am not used to seeing Natchez in the Colorado colors yet, so I almost looked for the Carolina one for a second when I was doing it.
I can tell which one's Konechny just because like
we only have 2 guys that are Flyers. Yes,
3, but like you can tell one's a ginger, and then
the
other one doesn't have facial hair. The other one does. Okay.
Okay.
So basically, all these guys to me they're really good. They're not. So all the other guys you could argue again when Tkachuk's healthy first round, these guys aren't. They're all really good players. Sam Reinhart, we weren't sure what his scoring would be like, especially after that outlier. Do I think he's a 57 goal guy? No, because that was on a 24.5 shooting percentage. But he's a consistent 30-plus goal guy on one of the best teams in the league. He's going to be over a point per game. He's going to be over 2.5 shots per game, probably. Like ever since he's been in
he's almost a hit per game too. Like I think he's 239 hits, 240. He's almost a hit per game, which I mean, at this point, that's just kind of additional. Like that's just additional.
He's one of those guys who plays in every situation, right? He's a really good defensive player, so there's also that aspect of it as well. Granted, like he'll play around 20 minutes average time on ice, but he does play in almost every situation. Tage Thompson is he's the goal upside to me in this category, I think. Like he's the argument of the guy that can hit 50. Like if you ask me which guy in this group can hit 50, it's probably him. Again, he's one of those guys. He does a couple things right. He's gonna shoot a lot, and he's gonna try to score a lot of goals. And it's gonna be interesting to see how he moves to right wing because now he'll actually be the person being set up. So there is some upside there. And if Kulich is a good enough playmaker, there could be the potential for a 50-goal season from him, I think, because now he is not anchoring the line. He's kind of being a supplementary player to it, and that's when he can be dangerous. And if you ever watch him in front of the net, sometimes he can cause so many problems as well that I think there is potential for.
With just how big he is, right? Like he's just a massive presence in front of the net, and it's again. I think I've watched a couple of games, and I think it is really hard for defenders to kind of dislodge him from the front of the net, right? Yeah. Just because of how big he is. So
he's sturdy too. He's a sturdy big. He's not like like a Sean Bradley kind of.
Love how you get to reference him of all people, but
next one here, Adrian Kempe. He's solid. Like he's probably the best contract in the NHL now that McKinnon got signed. But you look at his numbers. Last couple of years, 4 years with LA, 35, 41, 28, 35 goals, right? He's going to, again, same thing, going to shoot a lot, over almost 2.5 shots per game. He's not being knocked off his position. The only downside with LA is they do play a more defensive style, sometimes under a Hillier. So there is the potential, like, you could argue that his team doesn't have the goal scoring upside that, say, Buffalo, Florida, Toronto, or Colorado do. But he's thrived despite it. So I think
Kempe's only issue is he just hasn't been a point per game player. Like I think out of all the guys in this tier, like I think Konechny might be the other one, but like the rest of these guys in this tier have been like close to or have been point per game guys, right? That's why I'm tempted to have him like maybe again like if you're talking.
I didn't when I put these guys in, I didn't order them, but yeah, I
have something like this,
yeah. Nylander again. What's there to say? Like he's, what he's going to give you.
Is there? I guess my question is there an argument to move Nylander up to the bottom of the other elites? That's my question because with Nylander the last 3 years, he's been he's hit 40 goals like the last 3 years, and he's essentially been an 87, 98 points, 84 points. Like he's been point per game. He shoots a ton.
He's close. Last 4 years over three shots a game. I mean. do you
It's
think
iffy. He doesn't. He maybe doesn't have the 100 point. I mean, he got close that one
like
year. With
you
the
could talk about
98.
that one year where he had 98 points, but every other year he hasn't cracked 90. I wouldn't have. I'd probably have him at the top of this tier, but I wouldn't have him in that next tier because he doesn't provide the coverage that T'Chuk does. And I can't say he's like that 100 point, but like again, if you're talking about 40 goals at least the last 3 years, like over 4, he's just a consistent, you're going to get 40, 45, right? And
Yeah.
again, talk about team situation, even though Marner left, like there's still Matthews on the power play, there's still Tavares, there's still a really good supporting cast, and no matter whether he plays with Matthews or he ends up playing with Tavares, like he's proven he can do it with either. He's really good. Like that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Nothing to really say about him.
Marty Natchez, definitely received the biggest benefit of where he switched positions because if there's one winger that kind of fits McKinnon's speed and McCarr's speedy breakout style into the zone, it's a guy who just wants to shoot and move fast, and that's Marty Natchez. He was basically now. What's interesting is I don't think he was the point per game guy he was in over point per game guy was in Carolina because that was kind of an unsustainable streak to an extent. But
Yeah.
I definitely see the 28 points in 30 games with Colorado. And again, the way the minutes are deployed in Colorado, like he went from 18 minutes in Carolina basically to 20 in Colorado.
20, yeah, 20 and a half essentially, right? So he's
Yeah.
gonna get, because of Colorado's, like, again, their depth still isn't great. He's gonna get a ton. He's still gonna get a ton of minutes, right? And like when you get to play with one of the top 5 players in the league, that's always gonna be a boon for your production.
Well, McKinnon and McCarr on the power play, and then that power play again, you're gonna have him, McKinnon, McCarr, Landeskog, and then one of Nichushkin or Lehkonen. I mean, that's just gonna be insane, right? So all these things combined, he's a really good. Now, again, the only issue with Natchez I do have is he's a bit. Again, he's not going to give you anything else, and he's kind of he's a lot more.
Is he streaky? He's streaky,
and
right?
he is streaky.
He's very streaky. That's what I find. Like I think
he's
people
also
own him.
a
It's
lot
very
more.
frustrating.
I'd argue he's a lot more predicated on deployment than any of these guys because last year was his first year over 80 points, so you do have to bear that in mind as well. But at the end of the day, like we're just judging it based off this year, and this year he's in a primo position, and I have no problem if he's my left wing, my right wing one. It probably means you prioritize some other positions, but that's perfectly fine. And then the last one, Travis Konechny. This guy's kind of like Pasternak. In spite of his supporting cast, he's really good. And
yeah, he had 76 points with that shitty supporting cast around him last year, and this is after like his shooting percentage kind of dipped like over the last 2 years. Like I will admit, like his shots also did dip as well. That is maybe like the one concern I had. He still shoots. He still gets around more than 2 shots a game, and I do believe he does lay the body. Like he does. I have to assume he does lay the body.
He's overhit a game, close to around 2.5 shots per game. Although again, last year he went from 3 shots the 2 years before to 2.29, which is a little bit concerning. But with all the changes in Philly, I kind of want to just write off a bit of last year. But again, despite that, he's a consistent point producer. And I point to the Pasternak thing where if the supporting cast is just better and healthier, like his numbers should be better. Like if Michkov takes a step this year, there's an argument that he's going to be better. If the power play is better this year, if like certain young players take a step, there's an argument the team's his numbers will be better, right? So
also, I think with the shots thing, I was gonna say with the shot thing, I'm maybe not as concerned. Like again, like as long as it doesn't dip below 2, I'm not as concerned because I feel like across the league as a whole, I think the shots by like everyone across the league has dipped because I do think like with the way that players are playing nowadays, a lot more time. I think even Vasilevsky might have talked about it. I think he talked about it in an interview in the past. He mentioned now instead of teams like throwing 30, 35 shots on net, like they're going for less shots.
Carolina will
except Carolina, exactly. Carolina's the one exception, but except for Carolina, teams are going for less shots, but like much higher quality shots. So I'm not necessarily as concerned by the shot dip unless they've dipped below 2 shots a game. If they dip below that, then I'm really concerned.
Yeah. But yeah, overall he's really good. Again, he's kind of like gives you coverage in a bit of everything. The only concern I have is really, again, it's the Rick Tocchet low event hockey system.
Low event hockey, yeah, I was gonna say.
I will say it didn't. That first year he got there, it didn't affect guys like Pedersen, Hughes, Miller. You know, Miller, even to an extent Besser. So like, I'm not. I don't know how concerned I should be.
I
So
think
again,
I think people overblow. I think people are kind of overblowing the effect of it. Like, yes, will his production dip? I assume at some point it'll probably dip a little bit. Like again, when you're playing low event hockey, like that's never good for your production. But like I think, like you mentioned, it didn't affect the some of the Canucks players, right? Especially like the elite ones, right? When he got there, so
yeah.
I think we are overblowing the whole talking effect there. I
It's
mean,
just it's a factor you have
it's
to
something
consider.
it's something to consider,
Yeah.
but it's not something that people it's not something people should overblow like they are right now. Like people I don't know. Do you remember? I don't know if you saw. I think was it Mitch. I think Mitch. I don't know if you saw the interview. Was it the interview or like
Yeah, the
the
dump
interview
and chase thing.
the double chase one? Like Mitch was like, I hated that shit. And I'm like, you know what? I don't blame you. I'm like, that's not his thing. I think Talkit saw it. And he went on a podcast. And I think he kind of talked about it
Yeah,
too.
he was
But
on spit. Yeah.
that was kind of. I thought that was kind of funny because everyone's kind of overblowing it as a whole.
Yeah, all of these guys I'd be okay with. I definitely think Nylander's kind of more the front of this tier. Konechny's probably close to the end. But if either of these guys are your right wing one, I think you're fine. Again, if you took Konechny as right wing one, I assume you prioritized other positions, which is fine too. All these guys I'm fine with. I know I keep saying fine repeatedly, but I'm like I think you're fine with either of these guys. Next tier is the insane upside tier. These are guys I think have shown you something already and have the upside to be even better. Like they could be in the next tier. Or maybe, hey, who knows? Maybe the tier
These
above
guys
that.
aren't going to be drafted super high, but or like super high. But like I feel like a lot of these guys could be like league winners for you, right? They could definitely like if you manage to take one or two of these guys and they manage to hit like you're going to have an elite ass team, and there's a very good chance you win the league potentially because of one of these guys.
Hey, I had two of these guys on my team when I won last year, so.
Well, to be fair, I think you were kind of complaining about your team throughout the year, though. You weren't
That's fair.
you weren't super happy about those. So yeah. Well, let's go into the guy. So I think first one here,
Right,
I think is your boy.
Okay, you know how much I love this guy. Okay, look, like what is there to say about Dylan Guenther, man? First of all, one of the best. If you watch the tape, one of the best shots in the league. Like I'd say, like in that Matthews Bedard tier. Pasternak tier of like quality of shot, like how good his shot is, how quick he can get it off, how good it is in tight quarters, all of that, right? If you look at his numbers, nothing's crazy about what he did last year, or even in small sample size the year before, where he was 35 points in 45 games, 18 goals in that. Arguably, to an extent, kind of replicated it, right? Because the goals per game last year are 0.4 and 0.39. Last year, he did it partially on the second line for most of the year. This year, he's going to move up to the first line, most likely. Again,
and the shot volume's there for him, right? The shot volume's there. I think the issue with a lot of the young guys is that they don't usually shoot a ton right away. But like for him, like he came into the league kind of just shooting straight away, which I think that's always a good thing to see, right? With a guy that has confidence in his, that's a guy with confidence in his shot, and like I think he is a lock for. I think he's a lock for 30 goals minimum. Like I could even maybe with the uptick with you, I guess with Utah's like production as a whole, I could see him hitting 40 even, and I think that's why we think he could be a league winner for someone, right? Like if he gets you 40 goals and he's point per game, like and there's a realm where that's very possible, right? Like that can like, steal you a league.
Utah's projected to be, if you look at Utah's 5-on-5 numbers too, they're really good. He's gonna have power play 1. It's a team that's projected to, I think, to be one of the better offenses in the league, and he's gonna do two things well, right? He's gonna shoot and he's gonna score, and again, if he starts to develop more as a playmaker, because he's only 21, right? If he starts to develop a bit more as a playmaker, maybe those assist numbers go up. Maybe he gets a couple more secondary assists. There's a real pathway to being close to point per game. Because last year,
I was going to say too. You mentioned he's moving up to the first line, so like again, his assists should go up by the virtue of playing with better guys for more minutes. I think that's the other point we forget is like when you move up in the lineup, you're going to be playing with better players. So assuming you don't do anything, you don't do things differently. Yeah, you get more minutes. So essentially his assists are going to go up. I'm just going to be bold and say that they are going to go up. And his goals should probably go up too.
Cooley, Keller, Guenther could be one of the best lines in the league offensively by the end of the year. There's no.
And Keller's a pretty good, is a pretty solid playmaker from my understanding. So like Gunther's gonna get a lot of good like passes off Keller, and like Gunther's shot is already crazy as it is. So 40 goals is definitely within the possible. Like again, I know he hasn't even hit 30 yet, but like I think 40 is possible.
Yeah, 100%. And if there's a guy I think of this tier I kind of want to bet on, it's him. like of the three we're going to talk about here. The second one here, Kirill Marchenko. Probably people probably don't know that much about him unless you either A, picked him up in fantasy, or B, really followed somebody who had him in fantasy. But Marchenko was really good last year. And yes, the shot percentage is a bit high, a little bit, but close to a point per game. And this was without Monahan for most of the year. So he didn't have his number one center, where when him, and Monahan were on the same line together, they were clicking. They were one of the best lines in the league when Monahan was healthy. And he fell off a little bit with Fantilli, but like as Fantilli started to come more into his own, he started to play better as well. Again, 31 goals last year, 74 points. Shot volume is above 2.5 per game last year. Just a really good player. And he's only 24. So if you think of all the things combined together and Columbus's offense too was really good last year. They were top 10 offense and expected goals for. I see no reason why it would be
close enough. Yeah.
Huh?
I think they were 11th.
They were 11th,
but close enough. No, but I mean they're just outside the top 10. So like again, they were a team that we weren't expecting to have that like good of an offense, right? And like I guess all the young guys, like especially with Marchenko and like Johnson, Fantilli, they all kind of grew throughout the year, right? Like their production kind of grew throughout the year. So as a whole, I think their offense is a lot better than we anticipated. And I think Marchenko again was a big part of it.
Yeah. The only thing with him is he doesn't have the shot upside Gunther does, and he doesn't have this quality of shot Gunther does, but like he's still a really good player. And again, there is the upside that with all these guys, like, you know, they start to develop, maybe they take a leap. There's a possibility they could be in that next tier of guy. And then the last one, this one's kind of interesting. Matvei Michkov. So he's a tale of two halves in a way. He has actually one of the most interesting stat splits I've like ever seen for what I would call a rookie year. So beginning of the year, he was, you know, scratched at times, people dropped him because he just wasn't shooting enough. You know, his deployment was all over the place. But the second half of the year, man, that's where it really started to pick up. So after January, because January he was like at a low, 5 points in 15 games, just wasn't doing a lot, frankly.
I did have a look at that actually, because I was actually curious about that when that happened at the time. I can't find the link that had it, but I think I was reading about his struggles. A lot of the struggles were kind of like some of it was a case of bad luck. Like I did read it was like I think some of his like his shooting percentage, like the shot quality he was getting was still like high enough. It's just that, you know, a little bit unlucky. You know, players go through some dry stretches because they're a little bit unlucky, right? But I think after January, he just kind of came into his own.
Oh,
and like,
so for people that don't know, February, 10 points in 7 games. March, 14 points in 16 games. April, 5 points in 6 games. At the end of the year, despite all the struggles, still finished with 26 goals and 63 points. He's over 2.5 shots per game, despite games where he didn't even shoot that much. If you look at some of his game logs, and again, games where he was scratched too, right? So the upside's insane. Again, if the supporting cast gets better, if he gets more deployment, if he has consistent line presence, like I think there's a real possibility he elevates. And the talent's there. It's just all about, I think it comes down to, again, what his ceiling ends up being. He's definitely not going to, unless somebody's really just enamored with the upside, he's not someone that's going to go super early, but I think he's the guy who has the biggest variance of this tier. Probably has the biggest variance between where he ends up, where he could be, who knows, he could be in the other, like, it's not out of the realm, he could be in the other elites, but he could also finish worse than Marchenko and Gunther. But I do think the upside's there. I think with all three guys, the upside's there. I think Gunther's a safer floor of the three, and I think Michkov's the higher ceiling of the three.
And I think the other thing with Michkov too is, again, like we'll bring this up just because, but again, the talk it factor, it is there. We do have to consider that. And again, I think we talked about it.
His supporting cast just isn't as good.
Well, we also talked about, because we talked about the podcast with Talkit and the Michkov interview where he says he hates dump and chase. So I am kind of curious to see how it goes between these two guys. I swear to God, if Philly drives him out, I'd be pissed. But yeah,
Marchenko gets Chinnikov, Monahan, and Werenski. Gunther has Sergachev, Cooley, Keller, and insert guys here. Michkov has Konechny and maybe hopefully healthy Sean Couturier. That's really it.
But even healthy Sean Couturier wasn't the same player we saw from a few years ago, right? So it really does feel like it's just Konechny. And then maybe
and then
maybe hope like Zegras takes a leap, right? I guess maybe that's the other one.
And then the last guy in this tier, actually, this is probably the safest floor, I would say, is Lucas Raymond. Like the upside, he's hit a point per game, right? So we can't say he's to me he's the safest floor. He just doesn't have. I just don't know what it is. Where I think one, it's the supporting cast. Two, it's the lack of shot volume.
Right? Like nothing really wows me about him, right? So it's like, yeah, no, I feel you. Like I look at his numbers, like okay, he's hit 30 goals once, like great. His production's gone up every year. I think the thing with why we have him in this tier is he's still really really
22.
young, right? Like, well, he's 23, but like he's still 23, and like he's at least made progression like every single, apart from his rookie year to his like second year, like he eventually progressed every single year he's been in the league, right? Like he was close to point per game last year. His shots, even though they still aren't super high, they've at least like progressed, like apart from again the rookie.
I just don't think he's a 30 goal guy, which is why I don't have him with Marchenko. And like that year he hit 31 goals. He had it on a 19% shooting percentage at 1.99 shots per game. His career shots per game has been 2.1. Now, can he improve on that? Absolutely, right? There's the upside there, but because he doesn't have the shot upside and goal upside probably of a Gunther or even I'd argue Marchenko probably, like I'd have to have him lower just because, again, I don't know how, without the shot volume increase, I don't know how repeatable that is. But the floor is safe. You're going to get close to 80 points. And again, there's the potential for more because if he takes a leap, like everyone we've discussed in this tier, there's the potential for more.
Also, here's the other thing too. Like no one on Detroit's taking his deployment. Like if you like, who's gonna take like line 1 PP1 from him? Like name me a guy. Like you can't. Nobody can, right? And one of the guys that is on PP1 with him is like basically in one of the lower tiers essentially. So I don't think anyone's gonna take his deployment. Like his deployment is completely safe. So nothing you can really you can't really go wrong with him. And like again, if he continues like this kind of linear progression, like he could be more than a point. He could be more than a point per game player. I wouldn't bet on it, but like he's safe for 70 points, I think.
Mm-hmm. All right, next tier is just solid. Now, these guys don't have the upside that I think the guys in the tier above them do, but if you want to make the argument that you just want to take these guys, because they're probably, their floor is a lot higher in some cases, I'd be fine with that, I think I'd argue.
It's also, we know what you're going to get from these guys, right? Like, I think their stats across across the past 3 years have been very, very, very similar. So it's like, you kind of know, like, barring injury, like you know exactly what you're getting from them. So I don't know if you want to list off the names, I'll move them on here.
Yeah. So Seth Jarvis, again, it's really similar what you're getting. Like the last 2 years. Now, granted, Seth Jarvis might be is he an upside guy though? Because he's only 22, weirdly. But the thing with me is like, again, it's the shot upside, but the coverage is pretty good. I just don't know. The problem is I don't know if he's a point per game guy like the other guys can be, and so I have him here. But Seth Jarvis, you know what you're getting. I know it's weird to say because he's only 22, but you're probably going to get around, last 2 years, finished exactly 67 points. I think he's capable of 70, but I think you're going to get around 70 points. You're going to get over 30 goals. You're going to get close to 2 shots per game.
And like over a hit a game, right? Like he coverage across.
And that's why to me he's at the top of this tier.
I think again, like why he's solid. Again, he's just solid coverage all around. Like you don't. There's nothing you. I don't want to say there's nothing you don't get apart from like obviously like would you want to do point per game? Yes, but like is he going to do that? No. Apart from that, like he gives you pretty much what you want out of a guy in this tier. Like he gives you nice coverage all around. So
next one here is basically just a slightly worse Seth Jarvis is Drake Batherson. He's kind of the exact same thing. He's literally finished. So the funny thing with Drake Batherson, he's literally finished with 62, 66, 68 points the last 3 years. 22, 28, 26 goals. That's going to vary a little bit, but he's going to give you around 2.3 shots per game. He's going to give you over a hit per game. He just doesn't score as many points as Jarvis does, and he doesn't have the same deployment that Jarvis does because Batherson will fluctuate between the second and third line a lot of times. Jarvis is usually on the top 2 lines, but Batherson's always on power play 1. And he's a good player, and the coverage is there. He's just not going to score as many points. but he gives you the same level of coverage. Just a solid player. These guys are all just solid players. You're okay. And here's the thing: if you play head-to-head leagues, none of these guys hurt your builds in any way. Like they fit with everything for the most part. I'd argue.
Yeah, like again, I think with a lot of the guys in this tier, you're gonna get somewhere around like 0.8 points per game, at least 2 shots a game, and then like maybe like a hit per game. I think they're.
Yeah.
I don't want to say all these guys are similar in that sense. Like I think apart from like I think maybe like 2 or 3 guys in this tier that aren't, but like a lot of them are pretty similar, like similar 0.8 point per game range essentially. Like you're gonna get that at least. So
yeah, exactly. Next one here, Jordan Kyrou. He's definitely probably has the potential. He's more of a shooter than these other guys. He shoots a lot more. The points are going to be around the same, like in that 0.8. Again, like potential. He did do point per game a couple of years ago, but I think he's more of a 0.85 guy on average. Issue with him might be the deployment, because if he's not power play 1, he does take a bit of a hit. But again, overall,
he's
just
listed,
a solid.
He's listed on power play 2 right now because I think St. Louis has at least according to Daily Faceoff, they got Holloway, Buchnevich, Snuggerud, Thomas, and Fowler. Like I was gonna say I could see Buchnevich coming off for that, and like because I'm assuming Thomas is the center, right? So if they want to slide Thomas over to win the faceoffs, and they just put, although they probably have I assume they would have Kyrou probably on the left, and like I guess Holloway in front of the net, but that probably makes the most sense. But I could there's a real path to Kyrou at least getting power play 1, which is why we had him on this tier list. Otherwise, like if we knew he wasn't gonna get it, we just wouldn't have him here. But I mean, again,
also,
I think
he's respect the last 4 years he's finished with at least 67 points or more. 3 years at least with 70 plus points. Like, I mean,
yeah, he's a 0.86 point per game player the last 3 years. Like it's very like what you're getting out of him is very safe. Like you're gonna get probably like roughly the same goals assists. Like you're probably gonna get like a 30-30 kind of range.
He doesn't hit range much. He doesn't provide the same coverage that Batherson and Jarvis do, but he does give you a bit more shooting and goal. Like he does give you a bit more shooting and goal potential. Next one here, Matt Zuccarello. If he's healthy, he's good. I'm just gonna say this and leave it at this. We've had this debate a bunch of times. If he's healthy, he's good. He's gonna have top line deployment. He's gonna have power play 1 deployment with guys like Kaprizov, at least the power play, Kaprizov, Boldy. We talk about the Booyam upside for everyone in Minnesota. I think it applies here as well. But you look at his last couple of years in Minnesota, 0.83, 1.13, 0.86, 0.91, 0.78. The only issue is the games played. Like last year, he played 69. The year before that, he only played 69. 4 years ago, he played 70. There is injury concerns, and he's 30. He's 38, I believe, or going to turn 38. So there is the risk.
He turns 38 in September, So that's going to be a risk with him. He's a little bit old. He's probably the oldest guy I think on this list. No, maybe he might be the oldest guy on this list
for sure. Yeah,
this year for sure.
No, Patrick Kane's probably the oldest on this list, right? Or is Zuccarello older than Kane?
So Kane is an 07 draft year, so they might be the same exact age, low key. Hold on, that is crazy. Hold on, I just want to have a look. Yeah, Kane turns 37 this year. Zuccarello turns 30.
So Zuccarello's older. He might be. Yeah, he's probably the oldest person on this list then. Okay. But yeah, like the shots have gone down a little bit the last 4, like going from 2.54, 2.5 to 2.19. But overall, I think he's just a solid player. The deployment's really good. The only thing you have to worry about is age and injury. But outside that, I think he's just a solid second, even overqualified to be your third right winger, but a really solid second one, I would say. And then
I was gonna say too, his deployment's safe too, right? Like no one's like who's taking his deployment. Like
yeah, that's true. I mean, fair enough. Last one here, Gabe Vilardi. He's probably the guy. Like he's kind of weird because
he doesn't shoot enough. Again, this is I had him last year, so I can speak
to this. But his shooting
like,
percentage for his career is really high.
It's really high. So it is really high. I think his last 3 years as a whole, like if you rank all the people on our tier list in terms of shooting percentage, he has Demidov's the exception because he only has like a 2-game sample size, but he out of all the guys that have at least like 80 something games played, like he has the highest shooting percentage of the guys on our tier list at 19.5. So he's good at scoring goals. He's good at scoring goals. The problem is he just doesn't shoot enough, which is weird.
And also, like 34 goals on a 20% shooting percentage. And he was on a team. The other thing, too, is, bear in mind, Winnipeg led the league in shooting percentage last year. And they way overperformed their expected goals. So there is some regression built into this. But also, he does have an increase. With Ehlers gone, he's going to be the first-line guy. And he's going to have power play 1 basically all to himself, where he didn't have that last year. He was off and on a bit. and he's gonna have line one all to himself with Connor and Scheifele. I don't know what it means for shot total numbers, but overall, like I think he's a safe bet. Like while last year's numbers you could argue may have been inflated by the team shooting percentage and his own shooting percentage to an extent, I think the increased deployment kind of offsets it. So if he's like a 65-point guy, I think that's perfectly fine, and I'm okay with that here.
I still think he's the guy. He's probably the guy I'd be least likely to take in this tier. Again, the lack of shots does like. I know he still scores a ton, but it still scares me quite a bit because it's like that shot disparity compared to the rest of the guys on this list is a little concerning. So like if we're talking about which guys to take in this tier, like I probably like for sure like the one I want to target the most is probably Jarvis, and the one I want to target the least is probably Velarde. Because Velarde doesn't also offer very much else otherwise. Like he doesn't like he's a bigger-ish dude, but he just doesn't hit very much. He doesn't shoot very much either, and it's like
and you're going to see that similarity with other guys in the next tier after. So next tier is upside but chill. These are guys who have upside for different reasons, but I don't think it's the same upside as the guys 2 tiers above. So first one's Ivan Demidov. We've seen the talent in the playoffs. We saw the talent last couple of games of the regular season. We just have no sample size, really. And we're going to wait and see what happens. I don't really want to talk about this one beyond that because there's just not much to say. Other than
he has a two-game sample size in the regular season.
And we saw the flashes, and the flashes were brilliant. But again, this could range from like a league winner to a bust of a pick potentially, and there's no like. To me, it could widely vary. We don't know. But he's probably going to be one of the favorites for Rookie of the Year, I think. So there might be some hype on him. We'll see where closer to fantasy hockey drafts where he starts going, because that's one I'm really curious about. Next one here. These 2 guys I think you can put together. So that's Yuri Slafkovsky and Alexis Lafreniere. So for different reasons, one, they're supposed to be power forwards, but they don't play like power forwards. So power forwards normally, when I think of a power forward, I think of a guy like Ryan Callahan at his peak, where, let me just pull up Ryan Callahan's numbers here just as an example. Or like a Milan Lucic at his peak example. But like Ryan Callahan at his peak, right? You're talking about around 0.75 points per game, maybe points, like I'd say his peak year was when he was 25. So 0.8 points per game, 2.98 shots per game. Well, he was 3.7 hits per game, which is absolutely insane, right? But like when you think of power forwards, you think of guys like with those stat lines, or guys like Lucic at his peak who had similar stat lines, I would argue. The problem with both these guys is they don't hit and they don't shoot. So if you look at Lafreniere,
they also don't produce either. It's funny because like
fair,
I think they have similar production. It's 0.56 points per game for Slafkovsky and 0.58 for Lafreniere, right? And like obviously like Lafreniere has a much bigger like game sample size, but the shots are somewhat similar. And then like I guess they hit a decent amount, but that's about it. Like they hit. That's it.
I mean, Lafreniere's career, he's only 1.27 hits and 1.79 shots per game. And here's the thing. That curbs his upside to me, but the upside is he was a former number 1 pick. He was an undisputed number 1 pick at the time he was taken. And now he has no more excuses. There's no one blocking his deployment. He's going to be on the first line with Panarin and Miller. He's going to have line power play 1 deployment. There's no more excuses. Like, he has to be the guy that everyone thought he was going to be this year. And you can't say, oh, he hasn't played. Next year he'll be at over 400 games in the NHL. So there's no more excuses. And he's on it. Again, he has a good enough supporting cast. Like, he has Miller, he has Panarin, he has Adam Fox on the power play. Like, no excuses. Slafkovsky, again, he's a bit younger, obviously, but again, 0.56 points per game. Although the last 2 years, 0.61 and 0.65 is like, it's okay. He has the power. He has the line 1, power play 1. It's just the issue with him is, again, his hits are actually his hits are higher. Decent, but it's lack of shots.
He's almost at 2 hits per game essentially. Like he's like 1 hit off being 2 hits a game, which is pretty solid for him. But the problem is, again, the lack of shots.
With both these guys, sorry to interrupt. We haven't seen it yet. So I don't want. That's why I say their upside's chilled. Now they could take a leap, and these guys could all these guys could return really good value. But because we haven't seen it yet, compared to, again, we're talking about like near 3 shots with Gunther, 2.5 for over 2.5 for Marchenko, over 2.5 for Michkov, over like Raymond with his 80-point season. Like it's not comparable, right?
Yeah, like those other guys, like either those other guys kind of came into the league shooting, whereas these two just, I don't want to say they're basically just not shooting, right? That's kind of their
No,
biggest issue at this
there's
point.
no. Yeah.
And now, but then I guess in Slavkovsky's case, like he's probably had better deployment than Lafreniere, probably for the like I guess if you look at the last 3 years, like he's probably had more like at least slightly better deployment. But I guess this year with Lafreniere, they're both gonna have similar deployments where it's line one PP one, and it's gonna be. I think it really is the year for these two to prove whether or not they've got it.
Next one, JJ Peterka, really good player. Just depends on deployment. Right now, he's power play 2. Same with Buffalo last year. He eventually got on power play 1 and was pretty good. It just comes down to what his deployment is. The other one here, Jimmy Snugerud. I think this guy has so much potential. He has so much potential to be a multi-cat force that he's the guy I want. If I'm not punting anything, he's the guy I kind of want in this category. Because, like, if you look at the numbers...
with Snuggerud, I was going to say with Snuggerud, too, the reason why he's chilled is because, again, lack of sample size. He has, what, a 7-game regular season sample size? Yeah. So, same thing with Demidov, essentially. Like, we don't have enough sample size to really project these guys. But...
yeah, I just kind of have to project off. And, like, granted, 7 playoff games, but it's like, with limited deployment, I know the shots weren't high, 1.71, the heights, but, like, I think with the increased deployment, if he's going to be power play 1 the entire year, he has a lot of potential, and you get him at a lower draft value than a lot of these other guys, especially the guys with the pedigree like Demidov, Slavkovsky, Lafreniere. So to me, it might have the potential to return of a lot of value. Val Nichushkin, this is just if he stays out of trouble and stays healthy, he's insane. That's it.
Well, it's not even the healthy part. It's it really is the stay out of trouble part. Because like when he plays, he is basically close to a point per game winger.
There is a crazy stat about like when he's on the ice, how good Colorado is as a team. And you look at the last couple of years, you mentioned it. It's like 0.84, 0.89, 0.98, even last year, 0.79, over 2.5, ever since he's been Colorado. 2.9, 2.98, 2.93, 2.74 shots on goal per game, over a hit per game. He is, if he was not in trouble, he'd easily be an upside guy for me. No question. It's just, like, obviously the age plays a role, but he, like, honestly, if you got a full year of him at, like, his Colorado averages, so his Colorado averages are, like, 0.7 with 1.27 hits and 2.48 shots on goal per game. That's a really good player.
Like, he gives you good coverage all around, but again, it's always it's the substance abuse issues. It's all the off ice issues essentially, which are kind of curbing.
Here are his games played since he got to Colorado. The last 4 years, 62, 53, 54, 43. That's the issue.
Yeah, like,
but the upside,
and it sucks too because it's not even the injuries thing. It's kind of him getting in his own way essentially.
Yeah. The other guys here, Matt Coronado. His issue is sample size too, because last year his shooting percentage was 13.3, but because we have so little sample size, I don't know what his norm is at all. But 13.3 doesn't seem insane on 2.34 shots on goal per game. He did hit 24 goals last year. The thing that hampers him is, 1, we don't have a track record, and 2, Calgary might be the worst offensive team in the league next year.
Yeah. I think the only thing with Coronado is that like it is good that he does shoot quite a bit, which is good. Like, again, for a lot of the younger guys coming into the league, one of the biggest issues with them is they don't shoot enough, right? So it's good that Coronado's shooting a bit. The problem is he might have one of the worst supporting casts around him. But he does have the pedigree, I guess. Like, he was a top 10 pick. Like, so he's not just some rando that they're willing to cast aside. And again, who's going to take his deployment in Calgary?
Yeah. And if you're Calgary, you have to prioritize your dev, right? So
yeah.
Kent Johnson, again, it depends on the power play part with him, and he's a hell of a playmaker. Yeah, he's a hell of a playmaker. But yeah, career 1.6 shots on goal per game, hell of a playmaker. But the questions are the shooting upside and whether he gets power play 1 deployment. And then the other one here for this tier, actually no, we don't have anyone else this year. Although I did forget to put Svechnikov in the solid tier. Totally forgot about that.
Well, no, I think you had him in the floor guys, but I think you put him in the floor guys.
I don't know where to put him, just because like he does have.
I'd have him in. It's not insane upside, but
I think
It's
he's
tough.
solid because I think he kind of reminds me of Jarvis in a way, but just with more
Almost like
fluctuation.
okay, I'll kind of put him
Yeah, we'll
like
just
right
throw him there.
here. It's
Like he
Svechnikov's
has more
weird because like
fluctuation than Jarvis, but like his floor of coverage is just solid.
yeah, like he actually like I didn't realize what he like out of all
Yeah,
the right wingers like on our list, like he has the third most hits over the last 3 years.
yeah.
Sorry, it's the second most hits. Sorry, I'm even wrong about that. He's basically a point 0.8 point per game player or point 0.8 point per game player. He's more than 2 hits a game. He gives you more than 2 shots. Like it's really really good coverage. And like have been a couple years where he's gotten close to being point per game, and then there's been a couple years where he's been like really far off being point per game. Right, so he's
Yeah,
a little
like
bit like
last year
Jekyll
was a
Hyde.
little bit concerning with the decline, but the last 3 years before that, 0.88, 0.86, 0.88, I'm willing to give him a chance that I'll leave him in solid. All right, moving on
Also,
to floor guys. There's
he's still 25. He's also just still 25 too.
yeah,
Like he's
which is
not even
weird,
like that
right?
old. I know it feels weird. I think we talked about this with some of the other guys. Some of these players feel like they've been in the league for a lot longer and they're a lot older. But then when you look at their actual age, you're like, huh? You're like that doesn't
Yeah,
seem
like
right.
Svechnikov's been in the league since 18. So he's actually what's crazy. He's been in the league 7 years already, and he's only like that is wild. Whereas like Konecny's 27, and I wouldn't. I like the two. You know what I mean? It's weird. It's
Yeah,
um. All right, next tier is just floor guys. I don't know how much there is to discuss with these guys. It's just they have power play one. They're on a good line. Like they're usually on line one, maybe line two, and they're just good players that do different things, right? So Mika Zibanejad, the move to right wing saved his fantasy value because I don't think he's draftable as a center. He's gonna be on power play one. He's gonna be he's gonna
probably
be in a
line two this
line
year. I think he's
two.
gonna be line
Yeah,
this year. He's not line one capable anymore because
like
he like so that's gonna hurt his
he's
production a
fine.
little bit. But he's
He's
solid.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom Wilson, if you just want hits and like, the potential for 2040, he's basically your guy. Doesn't shoot a lot though, but
He'll get
he's
you 20
again,
goals. He'll get to
yeah,
20 goals
he'll
and
get you
he'll
20
give you
goals and
like
hits. Yeah.
and he'll give you a shit ton of hits. I think he's yeah, probably give you more than I'm gonna say he's gonna give you close to 3 hits a game essentially. 3 hits a game and then 20 goals in a year. I'll take that.
Pretty much.
Yoink.
Brian Rust, again, he's going to be line one, power play one for Pittsburgh. There is nobody else contesting him at this point, so it's fine. He's going to probably get you around
30
high
goals. Probably around
20s, low 30s.
yeah,
And
30
I'll
goals.
say
I'd
this,
say.
Pittsburgh, like, he's in a good line situation. Like, he's going to be with Crosby, right? So, right there. Again, last year, he's at least over 0.26 shots the last couple years. He's a consistent. Sometimes he'll even get you close to a hit per game. He's solid. Like it's just again the question with Pittsburgh is like how many guys are they selling off? How good's the team going to be? New coach, but he's solid. Tyler Toffoli, again, he's good. He's not going to have the point upside that Rust will because I think San Jose is just going to be a worse offensive team. But if their young guys take a leap a bit earlier, there's the potential there. He's going to probably going to be around a 27-ish goal guy, I would say, if that's fair to say. He's just a solid.
His deployment's safe too. His deployment's safe
Yeah.
because and he's line one, power play one is like in San Jose, and like San Jose's like next right winger after that. I think is Adam Gaudette currently listed. So I think Toffoli is quite safe. Like again, because I think their power play is Eklund, Celebrini, Toffoli, Smith, and Klingberg. And like
again,
I'm looking at all the guys on PP2. It's what Kurashev, Wenberg, Gaudette, Thompson,
and there's a weird
Skinner.
like
Yeah,
bobblehead or like thing of like the sleepover with like I think it's him, Celebrini, and Will Smith or something. It's like he's tight with the young guys, which is what you kind of need to be as a vet. And he's over
I saw the picture. It's kind of funny.
2.75 shots per game. So again, 25 plus goals, over 2.5 shots per goal per game, and with the potential for more because maybe if San Jose's young players get better, he can benefit from that. Jordan Eberle, he's gonna have power play one deployment, but like I don't like Seattle's offensive upsides. Not much to talk about here. Mikhail Granlund will have power play one, but he doesn't shoot enough. He's a hell of a passer though. Probably one of the best. That might be the best passer on the Ducks, but the shooting upside inhibits him. And where they move him is interesting because do they want to slot him in at center? Do they want to move him out to the wing? Right now he's on the wing. We'll see what happens. but the lack of shooting upside and the lack of scoring upside potentially for the Ducks inhibits him here. But again, he's safe as like your third right winger.
Yeah, his deployment's tricky. Sorry, back to Granlund. His deployment's a little bit tricky because like I'm kind of curious to see where they play because like right now on Daily Faceoff they have him listed as like on the third line right wing, which would kind of really hurt his value because I do think like if he at least is on one of the first two lines it'd be a little better. But like Troy Terry's going to be right wing. He's going to be on one of their first two lines. And then like
and Troy Terry's their best player.
Yeah, but like the problem is they have Kaloran Carlson and Cutter Cutter Gauthier on their like first line, right? So it's a little tricky. So I'm kind of curious to see where Granlund is. Like he could be
I'd have Terry above Granlund for sure because Terry shoots more and he's been their best player the last 2 years, no matter where they move him. Weirdly,
okay,
and he always is now. Is he on power play? If he's on power play 1-2, he can definitely outperform his value. It's just again the problem with the Ducks is new coach. We don't know how they're going to prioritize the young guys on this team. There's going to be a lot of moving parts to this team too, so it's kind of tricky to
like
take
Terry should be power play 1, but like Daily Faceoff doesn't have him there currently, and like knowing San Jose or sorry, knowing Anaheim, they fuck with their line. They always fuck with their lines.
Out.
Yeah, I'd avoid drafting the Ducks guys mainly just because you don't know what's gonna happen. Like, look, for example, I love like you like Jackson Lacombe, right? Because
the only guys I would take honestly, Lacombe if the value is good enough. And I'd say Gauthier as like a flyer late, just because I know where he's going to play. And yeah, I like McTavish late too, but everything else is just a mess on that team.
I'd avoid those
at least now until later we figure it out. Other couple of guys here, Jonathan Marchessault. No one's okay. I think the second right wing is Luke Evangelista on this team, so he's safe. I do think Nashville will progress from last year. Regress to the mean in a positive way from last year, but it's like there's not real upside. It's just, but again, third right winger with bounce back potential. Yeah, it's fine.
You probably get 60 points out of Marchessault, and I mean, if you're getting 60 points from your guys at this far down at this point, I think you're fine with that.
And then Brock Besser is the last one here. Now it's weird. I don't think he's that same 40 goal guy from a couple years ago, but his floor is consistent of like at least 20 something goals. If Pettersson plays better too, there is the possibility that that goes up. He's just going to give you shots and goals, but he's not going to do it with the same aplomb as like some of the other guys on this list.
The one thing I will say is I was a little bit concerned last year with Besser because his shots per game like did dip below 2 last year. So I do have a little bit of concerns about that. Like normally he does like have above 2 shots a game. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. So I guess that's something to look out for is does he like continue to shoot? But yeah, essentially he'll get you to the 50. He'll get you roughly 50 something points. Like you know what you're getting out of Besser. I mean, and you'll probably get around 20 to 25 goals.
Probably over 20. He's just the guy I'm like his deployment makes him a little bit more tempting than some of the Ducks guys, but I don't like him over anybody else in this tier, to be honest.
Well, it's because the problem is his production is just never like apart from that 1 year where he had 73 points, like he's never had above 60 points in any of his other years. If you look at his stats of his career, like that was the 1 year.
No, if you bought the high on Besser last year, you lost 100%.
You're probably crying, yeah, essentially.
Yeah. I like him probably the least of all the guys in this tier, except especially if the shots like he's probably on my do not like. Again, if the value's low enough, I'll take him. But from where he's probably going to go, I'm just going to pass.
Yeah, do not draft until it really is like a steal in terms of
him
value.
And Granlund are my two. I'm like the lowest on this tier, to be honest. Just Granlund because of the lack of shots and the deployment. Besser because what's the upside? Sure, that 1 year, but for his career, I kind of look more at those numbers. I'm like, well, if I'm getting 50 points, like I'd rather just have March or so.
Yeah.
All right. The get lucky guys, Connor Zary and Owen Tippett, they've shown potential. It's just right now they don't have the deployment or the line. They don't have the line deployment or the power play deployment in their favor. But if they get it, there's potential there. Tippett, and they've both shown potential in small spurts. Zary isn't much of a shooter, but Tippett is. And Tippett's numbers,
I'm gonna push back a little bit on Tippett because he had the deployment last year, and with the deployment last year, he just wasn't very good with it. The problem is with Tippett is like he shoots a ton and he hits a ton. And it's like your thought with him is that if he could just score a few more goals and get a few more, like if you get a few more points, like he'd be such a good player. The problem is he just he's never been capable of getting those points. Like, and I feel like everyone still references the fact that like, oh, he was a top 10 pick, but he's like 26 now at this point, and like he's only had one season above 50 points. And then like last year he had 43 points in 77 games, and he started with like power play, like he started with power play one, like in line one to start the year, and he just like wasn't capable of like putting out the production. Like he still gets you he'll get you more than a hit per game. He'll get you at least 2 shots a game, but I hate to say this, he just leaves you wanting more, and it really pisses me off sometimes. As a guy who owned him, it pissed me off. Like I dropped him at one point. I honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I was happy to not have him on my roster after that.
No, I think with Zary, it's again the deployment's not there. The shot, although last year was over 2 shots on goal per game, but if Calgary's selling guys, man, he can get deployment by default. So maybe you take him late enough, and there's a chance, right? The last 3 guys are, again, I didn't like to call it roster fill, but it's kind of what it is because these are the guys you kind of end a roster. Patrick Kane is a power play specialist to the nth degree. If you look at his points last year, almost half were on the power play. If he loses power play deployment somehow, his season's like you're just dropping him. Mark Stone doesn't have line 1 or power play deployment right now. Power play 1 deployment right now.
Marner. Yeah, because of Mitch Marner. So basically, because Marner came in, he's going to lose it. So.
And Connor Garland, again, he had power play 1 deployment. I think Besser was like hurt at different periods of times, or guys were hurt at different periods of times. So he had like deployment in his favor then. And then when JT Miller obviously left, he had power play 1 deployment. Garland just doesn't, as a guy that's owned Connor Garland, he produces points, but he doesn't like do a lot of anything else weirdly. And even the points aren't like amazing. He's like, even last year finished with 0.6. He's like a 0.6 points per game guy. He's slightly over 2 shots on goal. Like he's fine. It's just
but he's not even, he doesn't have power play 1 right now too, which is kind of the issue. Yeah. Like that's the one thing that like I guess that's the one thing that's probably stopping me like from, or anyone else from kind of owning him, is like the lack of power play 1. Because like I think they have DeBrusque, Pedersen, Hedel, and Besser and Hughes on power play 1, and like that makes sense, right?
And with Stone it's the same thing, where I get he's been over a point per game, but he doesn't offer you much in the other categories. And it's like if he's gonna lose the power play 1 and the line 1 deployment, like that's gonna take a hit to his fantasy numbers. And I'd rather take a chance on a guy who has the deployment on another team, or even an upside guy versus him. And then Kane, it's like you're praying that he stays the whole year on the power play and also doesn't get traded at any point either. Because if that happens, his value probably tends to.
The risk of him losing power play 1 is quite real, right? Because there's a real shot that Marco Kasper takes a leap and he takes power play 1 from Patrick Kane. Because out of all the guys on power play 2, Kasper's the one I'd be willing to say is most likely to have a chance to take Kane's spot. Because you're not taking Raymond Larkin or Dimitrov. Yeah.
Yeah, and if it becomes a lost year, why would you not just put him? Like, why would you not just put a younger guy on power play 1 to give him that development?
Yeah, why not?
Right? So,
why not prioritize like Kasper's development? Like, because what I hate to say this, but like, what are you getting out of like apart from you trying to showcase Patrick Kane for trade? Like, what gain do you have for playing him on power play 1?
Yeah, exactly, pretty much. All right, so that wraps up our right wings. Any points of debate, or do you think we did a pretty good, concise job there?
Yeah, I mean, I think anything that was debatable, like I already did bring it up, like right. For example, like I talked about the is Nylander, like could Nylander move to other elites? I feel like do you think if he has another year like he did like this year, like or
for
like,
sure
he gets 90 points?
Okay. Him and Rantanen are the two like I could see oscillating depending, and then obviously the leap guys could take leaps into other categories. But yeah, I think these are our tiers for now. I'm curious to see where guys go, and again with all these guys. Closer to when the drafts come out, we'll kind of match the tier list to average draft values, and we'll kind of tell you who we think is being overvalued, undervalued, and we'll go.
And like who's like the best? We can like tell you who's the best value and like that kind of stuff.
Guys, I wouldn't. Yeah. Next, our last one follows up with the centers. I think we'll do centers plus kind of go into detail about maybe guys just overall in fantasy that we're high on. Maybe we'll do like our centers and then our long shot draft guys kind of thing. And that's what we'll do.
We can see season. We can see how long it takes, because I think I'm a little bit worried because there's so many centers that because this one was like a lot shorter, for example, because like I think we kind of skimmed through the right wings pretty well. The left wing one took a little bit long. Actually, I don't think it took that long. It was a decent chunk of time. But I think the center one might be the longest. Overall. The center one might be the longest one, just because there's so many good centers, right? Like,
no, that's true.
But we'll see. Right, guys, if we have time, we can definitely squeeze in the who are the best values, who are the worst kind of thing, or like long shot kind of stuff. we can kind of talk about that more when we figure that out. But
or maybe closer to the drafts. Yeah. All right, guys. So again, appreciate you checking in with us. Again, we try to do these like we're doing our own fantasy draft research. So we do put like the same amount of effort. So this isn't just like some BS there. So appreciate you guys tuning in.
We play fantasy hockey, guys. Yes. So this actually helps us too. Like we're not doing this just because, you know, it's content for us to put out. Like
I'd argue for us, like to an extent, not to sound like an elitist, but we need some of it a little bit more because in our leagues are all keeper leagues. So most of these guys, like I can tell you for a fact, most of these guys aren't on the board by the time we're drafted. So
I'll just like, for example, like I'll just go like I'll point out like for example, I'm just gonna move my mouse. You can see who's keepered, or
I'm
maybe
probably
not
not keepering Rantanen this year.
But like
Chuck's keepered, Nylander,
probably keepered,
Reinhardt, yes,
keepered,
Tage, yes,
probably
Natchez,
keepered,
yes.
no,
Kempe, no. Konechny, no.
probably no.
But then Gunther, yes.
Keeper,
Raymond, yes. Marchenko, yes. Mitch Kopp.
Yes.
Like you see where we're going.
Yeah, like there was like 2 guys in the first like 5 tiers that you could have maybe draft. That's it.
Exactly. So all right, guys. Again, for us at Tony Crease, enjoy the Labor Day weekend. I'm SJ. That's WillyDubz. We're signing out. We'll catch you later.
All right. See you guys later. Peace.